Good morning, everybody. There are many famous buildings in Washington, D.C. Perhaps you've been to most of them, and one of them across the river in Virginia is the Pentagon. And it was finished being built during the height of World War II on this date, January 15, in 1943. First cabinet included the Secretary of War in charge of the War Department. We didn't get the Department of Defense until after World War II. During World War I, the Department of War met at the Munitions Building, which was a temporary structure built along the mall. You can see the Lincoln Memorial in the upper left-hand corner. And after World War I was finished, a new War Department building was built at 21st and C Streets in the area of Washington, D.C. known as Foggy Bottom, and that's where the State Department is today. So there was talk of a new Department of Defense or War Department building across the river from D.C. So here's the map. You see the Potomac in the middle. On the left is Arlington. You see Arlington Cemetery, and to the south is where the Pentagon is. So why is it five-sided? Well, partly because that was just the lay of the land with roads and such, but some think it's because the classic star-shaped fort, and here's one near Boston, was five-sided. But lots of reasons why it was five-sided. So World War II started September 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. Here's a photo of the Blitzkrieg. So the building of a new War Department building really picked up, and it was actually built in 16 months. Started in September 1941, so before Pearl Harbor, and finished on this date, January 15, in 1943. So they used cement to build most of it, partly because steel was in short supply because of war needs, like for tanks and planes and such. But also they didn't want it to block the view of the Capitol. So you can see in the background the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, and so on. So that's one reason why the Pentagon is 5 stories tall. Now it has lots of cool facts about it. For instance, it has over 130 stairways, hundreds of bathrooms, thousands of light bulbs need to be replaced regularly, and the inner courtyard is 5 acres, so that's pretty big. And if you were going to run around the whole perimeter, it would be about a mile, so it's a pretty big building. In it are various fast food chains, and the subway that's in the Pentagon is the busiest in the world of all the Subway sandwich shops. So there are over 17 miles of corridors, but supposedly you can go from any point A to B in 7 minutes. So that's a pretty efficient use of space. One thing that happened at the Pentagon that was kind of funky, in 1967 there was an anti-war protest, and a bunch of hippies showed up, and they were going to actually levitate the Pentagon, that it was going to rise up in the air and rotate and then come back down again. Some people said that actually happened, but what we do know is it was a real clash of generations, and here we see young soldiers and young protesters eye to eye, and Pentagon became kind of a symbol of militarism, I guess, in the country then. And then this book, 1971, The Pentagon Papers, A Secret History of the Vietnam War, really got everybody's attention. So the Pentagon as a symbol was quite potent back then and still is today. Now, the Pentagon does not allow movies to be filmed in it, but there are all kinds of imaginations of what's inside. And here's Dr. Strangelove 1964 with the War Room in the Pentagon. So the Pentagon is the second largest office building in the world. The first one is in India. It has to do with the diamond trade. And the third biggest is the Chrysler headquarters outside of Detroit. So there's the one in India, focused primarily on the diamond industry. But the Pentagon is the largest of a low profile. So if you go to D.C., check out the monuments, but then cross the river and get a tour of the Pentagon. Quite fascinating.